Chag Sameach, Gut Yantif. Welcome to our unique observance of Yom Kippur 5781. I would like to first thank our leadership, our board, for the incredible job that they have done getting us through these very, very strange times. I want to thank Anne-Marie Fisher, our executive director, who, as always, manages the business of our congregation with such skill and with such commitment. And Ezra Donner, our music director, for the beautiful arrangements that you heard both on Rosh Hashanah and will hear tonight. I want to welcome our sister congregations through the Society for Humanistic Judaism. Watching us again, along with many people who are not affiliated with any of our organizations, are the members of Kol Haskalah in North Carolina, who participated with their own reading on Rosh Hashanah, and from Beth Ami of Colorado, from whom we'll hear later in our program. As I said at the beginning of our Rosh Hashanah program, if you've ever considered joining our congregation, now is the time. Our leadership last year created a new membership model that eliminates all of the obstacles, all of the barriers to joining. Under our new model, members determine their own level of contribution in support of their membership. And if you've ever thought about giving your children a Jewish education, please know that participation in our Spinoza Youth Education Program is now a full benefit of membership. Now, we're in a different mode with it this year, offering monthly holiday online programming, but we're going to be together next year. We hope that you will consider membership in our congregation. We hope you'll consider this education for your children, and that you'll let your friends and families know all about our Congregation for Humanistic Judaism. Yom Kippur is the day when Jewish tradition asks us to think about change and transformation. We call this a process of teshuvah. Now, traditional translations render the word teshuvah as atonement, but it actually means turning. This day of reckoning urges us to turn away from the things that we know we could do better toward those improved versions of ourselves and our society that await us. These past months and years, for that matter, have been a constant reminder that our entire society has so much more than a little bit of teshuvah to do. And we know the direction that our turning must take. The authors of the Torah's book of Deuteronomy told us some 2,600 years ago, tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice, you must pursue. On Erev Rosh Hashanah, as we welcomed this new year, we lost one of the greatest voices for justice to have arisen in the millennia since those words in the Torah were composed. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg framed those words and placed them on the wall of her Supreme Court chambers. That's how important they were to her. Let us take a cue from her life's work. Justice. Justice. Our teshuvah, our turning, must be toward tzedek. Racial justice, social justice, economic justice. Justice Ginsburg is gone now, but on this Yom Kippur, the message of her entire life rings out louder than ever before. Turn toward justice. May her memory be a blessing and a revolution, one that leads to a more just society, a better nation, a better world for ourselves, for our children. Alea Shalom, Zichra Livracha. Before we begin the rest of our program of reflections, Let's take fewer than 3 moments of your time as we hear greetings from BT's Vice President, Elaine Fieldman, followed by our former president, Charlie Paul, who will speak briefly about our Adam Society giving. Then we'll begin our evening of reflection and self-examination. Shana Tova, everybody.
Welcome to the Birmingham Temple. I'm Elaine Fieldman, the Vice President of the Board. I want to welcome all of you from near and far, those who are members, those who are not, to our very special services for the Humanistic Birmingham Temple. One advantage to doing this via Zoom and not in person is that I get to smile at you and I don't have to wear a mask. So for those of you who are so inclined and would like to make a donation, I'm sure there's some scroll at the bottom of my outfit and it gives you information on how to do so, and I encourage you so we can continue to provide our great educational programs and other events online. And if you want some information about joining the temple, please visit our website. There are some programs that are only open to members, and they're very, very, very special. Welcome again.
L'Shana Tova. I'm Charlie Paul. Suzanne and I have been members of the Birmingham Temple Congregation for Humanistic Judaism for over 40 years. Perhaps you've seen us around. I'm asking you today to join us, as well as a number of other members of our community, in the Adam Society. The Adam Society is our congregation's program where you can create a vital financial legacy in your estate planning that helps ensure the future of our temple. I'm not asking you to write a check or transfer funds today. There are many different ways for you to include the temple in your end-of-life instructions. There's no minimum gift required for membership in the Adam Society. An attorney and a professional estate planner, both good friends of our congregation, are available for private, no-cost initial consultations should you need help in getting started. Plenty of information is available online. From the weekly newsletter, you can click on this donations and payments link, or you can click here on the temple's website. I hope you consider helping our congregation so we can look forward to a strong, sound future for all our children and grandchildren. Thank you. Suzanne and I wish all of our members and friends a happy and especially now a healthy New Year.
The Torah says, Ach be'asor lachodesh hashvi'i hazeh, Yom HaKippurim hu, mikra kodesh yihiyeh lachem. And on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonements. It shall be a sanctified gathering for you.
One more atonement day has come, all pretense gone, naked heart revealed to the hiding self. We stand on the ground between the day that was and the one that must be. We tremble. At what did we aim? How did we stumble? What did we take? What did we give? To what were we blind? Last year's confession came easily to the lips. Will this year's come from deeper than the skin? We said then, why are our paths strewn with promises like fallen leaves? We said then, when shall our desire be for wisdom? We say now, love and truth shall meet. Justice and peace shall embrace. In our weakness, we affirm our strength. In our fear, we affirm our capacity for courage. When we falter, we reach inward to ourselves and outward to each other.
Tovu Yom Kippur, enshrined in the long memories of our people, we stand united with generations past.
Recalling the lives of our ancestors, we remove all of our pretense and reveal all of our vulnerability. Amid the uncertainties of life, we seek peace with ourselves and with others.
We ask ourselves important questions. What is our life, and of what avail is our strength? What is our wealth, and to what purpose our power? How can we control the course of our lives?
Let the fire we kindle be a warming flame, whose brightness illuminates the path of life. May the dancing of these candles spark warmth in our hearts and wisdom in our minds.
As they give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of our ancestors who kindled lights, so may we serve as beacons for our children to walk in our light.
The Kol Nidre was never a prayer. It is a legal declaration annulling vows and oaths. Various forms of its Aramaic text can be found in prayer books from almost 1,500 years ago. One version speaks about annulling vows made in the year that has passed. A later version nullifies vows made in the year to come. Both accounts were subject to centuries of opposition by rabbis who insisted that one could not annul vows, not retroactively and not in advance. Some scholars believe that the popularity of the Kol Nidre was rooted in fears that by rashness or compulsion, Jews would make vows or oaths that they could never fulfill. All agree that its melody contributed to its longevity. In any case, popular sentiment prevailed. No traditionalist or reformer ever succeeded in banishing it from the evening service to which it gave its name. It is fruitless to tease out some kind of contemporary humanistic interpretation for an ancient and long obsolete legal pronouncement. The real reason that we revisit it each year is to enjoy a rare living link that connects us with Jews across space and time. So we suspend our precept that we say what we mean and mean what we say, as tonight we experience Kol Nidre in its traditional form, this haunting refrain from the past, beautifully rendered by our guest performer, Stefan Kukuruga.
Kol Nidre וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי ושבועות Ad Yom Kippurim haba Icharat navechon Kul hon yehon shara Shvikin shviti Telinum
In order to be forgiven, we must know how to forgive. Yom Kippur comes and urges us to do both. Let us hereby forgive whoever has hurt us, whoever has done us any wrong, whoever, whether deliberately, inadvertently, whether by word or by deed, hurt us. May no one suffer on our account. As we forgive and pardon fully those who have wronged us, may we seek out those whom we have harmed and ask them to forgive and pardon us, whether we acted deliberately or by accident, whether by word or by deed. May we not willfully repeat the wrongs that we have committed.
On this Day of Atonement, we will not seek to escape responsibility for our own selves. We will not fault parents, siblings, or childhood traumas.
nor will we blame society, the economy, or our institutions for their failure to make us perfect. We are free, but we are not free to do anything we want, for we have obligations to others. We are not free to be anyone we wish, for we are influenced by others. We are free to choose how we shall react to life's challenges, and in this small way, we can mold ourselves to become better than we are.
On this Day of Atonement, we need to accept responsibility for our own selves. We cannot be perfect. We cannot be continuously happy and successful or always popular and healthy. We seek only to be a little kinder, braver, and more patient, to perform more acts of love and kindness, to share more in the joy of others, to be at one with ourselves, with our values, and with our dreams.
Today we see ourselves as we truly are. How do we review the record of our deeds from this past year? How do we evaluate the quality of our existence? We cannot blame our conduct on forces beyond our control. With our own hand, we write and seal the record of our own deeds. We are fully responsible for the quality of our life, for making the most of it or the least of it. On Rosh Hashanah, we reflect. On Yom Kippur, we consider who shall live for the sake of others? Who shall leave a heritage of life?
Who shall hunger for the good? Who shall thirst for justice and right?
Whose tongue shall be a thrusting sword? Whose words shall make for peace?
Who shall be plagued by fear of the world? Who shall strangle for lack of friends?
Who shall rest at the end of the day? Who lie sleepless on a bed of pain?
Who shall go forth in the quest for truth? Who shall be locked in the prison of self?
Who shall be serene in every storm? Who shall be troubled by the passing breeze?
Who shall be poor in the midst of possessions? Who shall be rich, content with their lot?
We seek to forgive ourselves and others the past. We seek to experience a sense of renewal for tomorrow. May we go forth with rejoicing to a year of great goodness, which we shall inscribe in our book of life.
Our misdeeds constitute a veritable alphabet of unethical behaviors. The offense of arrogance, bigotry, and cynicism, of deceit and egotism, flattery and greed, injustice and jealousy. Some of us kept grudges, were liars, malicious, or narrow-minded. Others were obstinate or possessive, quarrelsome, rancorous, or selfish. There was violence, weakness of will, xenophobia. We yielded to temptation and were zealous for questionable ends.
We have transgressed against life by failing to work for peace. We have transgressed against life by keeping silent in the face of injustice. We have transgressed against life by ignoring those who suffer in distant lands. We have transgressed against life by forgetting the poor in our own midst. We have failed to respect others. We have withheld our love from those who depend on us. We have engaged in gossip and in repeated slander. We have distorted the truth for our own advantage. We have conformed to fashion and not to conscience. We have indulged in despair and trafficked with cynics. We have wronged ourselves by failing to rise to the best that is in us.
We now read words from our past. Isaiah, prophet of ancient Israel, chastised his people for turning their backs on the needy and for failing to create a just society. His words were so powerful that hundreds of years later, the rabbis of old decreed that Jews must read them every Yom Kippur.
Adapted from Isaiah, chapter 58. Is this an acceptable fast? A day for people to afflict their souls? Is it to bow down their heads like bulrushes and spread sackcloth and ashes beneath them? Is such what you call a fast? Is not this an acceptable fast? To loosen the fetters of evil and untie the bonds of every yoke, to let the oppressed go free? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the outcast poor to your house? When you see the naked, that you cover them, and not ignore your fellow kin. Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and heal body and spirit. Then shall your righteousness be visible to all, if you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the words of malice, and if you offer compassion to the needy and relieve the afflicted soul, then shall your light shine in the darkness, and your night become as bright as day.
My reading is on responsibility, which, given the current situation, is of course very important. If we take our commitments seriously, we fulfill them. Responsibility is a choice. We could always choose to pass on our obligation to others, to distribute blame, to counterattack when criticized, or we can have the dignity to take full command of our life and have the courage to say, "It's my fault. I'm sorry." There are always other factors in our failures, people who let us down, circumstances beyond our control, genetic inheritance, and on and on. In the end, we have to decide whether to make excuses or to make good on our promises. Responsibility is a lifestyle. In a narrow sense, we are only responsible for our own behavior. Yet, if we are truly committed to our values as humanists and as humanistic Jews, our responsibilities do not end with ourselves, nor with our family, nor with the Jewish people. If we are responsible for ourselves and we feel responsible for the whole world, then we are living the values of humanistic Judaism.
The song we just heard, Efo Ori, is part of every ceremony and every celebration that we hold in our congregation. And this is true throughout our entire movement, where it occupies a special place for us as the singular text in humanistic Judaism that has been elevated to the position of must include in all of our ceremonial programs. This place of honor that we've carved out for Efo Ori, its indispensability to our rituals, demonstrates how new traditions can quickly root themselves in group expectations. I guarantee that BT members would definitely notice if it went missing. But its special status also carries a reminder, even a bit of a warning, that like its much older traditional cousins, for example, the Kaddish, or Hear, O Israel, the Shema Yisrael, the more that we are exposed to it, the greater grows the likelihood that we will cease to appreciate what it is teaching us. For the Shema Yisrael, Judaism's traditional profession of monotheism, or for the Kaddish, a repetitive formulaic series of Aramaic praises of God having nothing to do with loss, the fact that few people understand them or care deeply about their theological sentiments is today irrelevant, because so many long ago ceased to agree with their assertions. Considered revolutionary and central pronouncements by the biblical and rabbinical writers who created them, they long ago became, as Rabbi Wein once quipped, nothing but a collection of Jewish sounds. Two among dozens of prayers addressed to a God whom even those who believe in him frequently don't recognize as the God in whom they invest their faith. The content of our theme song, as Rabbi Wein himself once called it, still remains quite revolutionary, and its assertions are central to our belief system. For that reason, as humanistic Jews who in our rituals and ceremonies are guided by the precept that we say what we mean and we mean what we say, it is important for us to maintain its relevance, to examine and reflect upon its assertions. What better occasion to do so than on Yom Kippur, a day of examination and reflection? Though we just now heard it in a beautiful musical setting, let's reconsider its words in verse. Where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you. In a few moments, we'll look much more closely at each of its constituent parts, taking time to examine the roles that light and hope and strength play in the human condition and in humanistic and humanistic Jewish philosophy. But before we move on to that, I want to point out that despite the fact that, as we'll see, these are very different kinds of things, they have something important in common. This shared property is so inherently important to Rabbi Wein's formulation of humanistic Judaism that he once remarked that Efo Ori is a summary of all of our beliefs. The themes of light, hope, and strength, frequently emphasized throughout history, are ideas that deeply touch both the individual and collective human experience. And so it should come as no surprise that they also feature prominently in traditional religions, where those who are experiencing their absence, who are mired in gloom, in hopelessness, in weakness, are urged to reach outward in their pursuit of light, hope, and strength, to external sources that exist in the realm of the supernatural, in magic, in superstition, in gods. For modern humanists, this is wanting. So Rabbi Wein offered a different answer to the question of where humanity can find their sources of light, hope, and strength. Answers that refuted the need to reach out beyond ourselves. No, says Afo Ori, these things that humans need so badly are not out there. We will not find them in the stars or in the cars or in crystals or in prayers. They are already inside us, in me, in you, in every human being. And now, with those thoughts in mind, let's move on to our consideration of each of them in order, beginning, of course, with light. As we make our way through each of these themes, as I mentioned, we're going to see that they are really very different kinds of things. Each in their own way, though, touches central, individual, and collective psychological needs. About light, physicists teach it is electromagnetic radiation. And that discovery was a big breakthrough for science. And we appreciate science, but that's not really how we experience light. For most of us, the experience of light has led to it being considered also a metaphor, a symbol of something greater. Throughout human history and over many, many cultures, light features prominently in myth and literature, poetry and prose, in art and in music. The mythologies of many cultures consider it the goal of creation itself. Greek traditions teach, first of all, the void came into being, and out of void came darkness and night, and out of night came day and light. There are Chinese myths in which light and its absence are the two driving forces of the entire universe, keeping everything in balance. And of course, in our own Jewish tradition, in the creation story that opens the Torah, the very first thing that Yahweh says is, Yehi Or, let there be light. All over the world, human beings have created rituals and holiday celebrations that are concerned with light. Their origins bring us back to the science of light, or, of course, how we experience it biologically. And that's because we human beings evolved on a planet that sometime around 4 billion years ago, when our solar system was forming, got smacked with a huge piece of space debris that caused our planet to tilt, giving Earth its seasons of increasing and decreasing hours of sunlight. When the darkness increased, people staged rituals to ward off the gloom and the cold. And some of these evolved into holidays like we have today with Hanukkah and Christmas. As the humanistic bumper sticker reminds us each December, axial tilt is the reason for the season. When the days lengthened, people celebrated the return of light and warmth with holidays such as those we celebrate today, Easter or Passover. This phenomenon helped guide human imaginations to create even more connections with light. In Genesis, God's response to the creation of light is that he saw the light and it was good. This notion of the goodness of life comes from spring, the time of the harvest, and it led to even more associations, like the idea that light also refers to truth, something that inspired the 18th century French philosophers to call their movement for reason and rationalism the Enlightenment. With themes as powerful as light, hope, and strength, it should not surprise us that they can also be misused. Let's not forget that Nazis and Klansmen also loved the imagery of light. Torches and fire play a major role in their rituals too. It's also important to remember that lies frequently masquerade as the truth, telling us that they are enlightening. In the wrong hands, light is a tool of propaganda. But misuses of the symbol of light are all the more reason to appreciate Rabbi Wine's affirmation that it is an idea created by and for people, human beings, who ultimately are responsible for determining what is good, what is correct, what it is that brings real light into our lives. Responsibilities that are firmly located in me and in you. And so we move on to the next value in our humanistic triad, hope. Unlike light, hope is not primarily a metaphor, though there are times it can be. Some argue about the precise nature of hope, but we can all agree that it is a feeling common to everyone, essential to our survival. But can it be more? Like our other two themes, hope too suffers from a history of externalization, particularly again in the philosophies of traditional religions. Christians and Jews alike turn to the book of Psalms, reading, "For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation." Rabbi Wine wrote frequently about hope. In another of his popular compositions, Rabbi Wine wrote this: "Hope is a choice, never found, never given, always taken. Some wait for hope to capture them. They act as the prisoners of despair. Hope is an act of will, affirming in the presence of evil that good things will happen, preferring in the face of failure self-esteem to pity. Optimists laugh even in the dark. They know that hope is a lifestyle, not a guarantee." When Rabbi Wine spoke about hope as a choice, as a lifestyle, he was not speaking merely of the feeling alone. No, he was talking about hope as a resource, a motivator, about putting hope to work, calling hope to action. Herein lies the choice: to pretend that hope alone will save us, that hope is itself a plan, or to use it to push us, to drive us, to inspire us to confront our fears, our anxieties, to face head on those challenges that await us. At the historical moment in which we are living, hope is a precious commodity. There are so many things that we feel are beyond our control. Climate change, injustice, poverty, and now even plague have pushed our hopes aside, leaving us all too often feeling only paralyzing despair. We cannot allow this to happen. For us, hope must mean action. The popular writer, historian, and activist Rebecca Solnit describes it this way: "Hope is not like a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch. Hope is an axe you break down doors with in an emergency. Hope should shove you out the door because it will take everything you have to steer the future away from endless war, from the annihilation of the earth's treasures and the grinding down of the poor and marginal. Hope just means," she says, "that another world might be possible, not promised. Hope calls for action. Action is impossible without hope." Success is by no means guaranteed, but without hope, failure surely is. There's one more thing about hope, too. It is self-regenerating. The more we work it, the more it spreads. taking hold of more and more people along the way who put their hope to work to create real change. When I see the daily demonstrations in American towns and cities, and there has not been a single day in the past 4 months without one, hope grows within me. It blossoms. It inspires me. It holds back despair, replacing it with a cautious optimism generated by the vision of so many others who also believe that things can get better. Even when I think of the pandemic, a phenomenon that is not particularly attentive to demonstrations or letter writing campaigns, I know that the hope we are investing in medical science inspires researchers to work harder, to learn more, to do more, to bring it to an end. This power of hope to push us, drive us, inspire us to act is one of the greatest resources we humans possess. It is in me, and it is in you. We move now to the last leg of our thematic triplet, strength. Humans worship strength. We view its absence as failure. We heap contempt upon the weak. We live by the rule that might makes right. Civilizations have risen and fallen to the sword or bombs of the strong. Traditional language places great emphasis on strength, force, and power. The Hebrew Bible speaks about it hundreds of times, not only, as we've seen already with light and hope, to identify God as the source of human strength, but also to define God as strength itself. God's omnipotency, his all-powerful nature, is what establishes him as a universal deity, able to punish, to destroy the world with a flood, or Sodom and Gomorrah with a hailstorm of fire, to threaten, as one prophet said, echoing many others, the Lord is vengeful against his foes, he rages against his enemies, or to redeem, of course, as we learn in the Bible's accounts of Israel's redemption from slavery. The Lord is my strength, sang the Israelites in praise. More than light, more than hope, strength as a value poses dangers. Throughout human history, we have been witness to the hazards of this reverence of strength. When in times of weakness, of despair, people turn to cults of strength, seeking answers to their fears and anxieties in men, it's always men, who for selfish reasons of their own, in pursuit of glory or power or profit, fashion themselves like unto gods. And almost invariably, these same men are described as chosen, their might as a gift of an ultimate power from beyond, whoever that might be. The inclusion of strength in Apho Ori sends a crucial message. Like the other two themes, of course, it reminds us that strength does not come from beyond. And like the other two themes, it reminds us that it is located in every person, that we can access inner power, inner strength as individuals or collectively. But its inclusion does much more than that. It serves as a reminder that the strength we seek within is not the power to exercise it through punishment or vengeance, as does the biblical God or the earthly tyrant. No, it is the power to face ourselves as we truly are, to admit our shortcomings, our deficiencies, our defects of character, to locate the confidence to admit our mistakes, to make amends, and to grow, to acknowledge this is a different kind of strength, one we call vulnerability, and vulnerability takes courage. Human behavioral expert Dr. Brené Brown has pointed out that vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage, because truth and courage may not be comfortable, but they are never, ever weakness. They are the real essence of strength. This is the strength that we must demand in ourselves if we are to be secure and capable individuals. And it is the same strength that we must demand also from each other, from our society, from our leaders, if we hope to create a fair and just nation and world. The courage, the strength to change ourselves and the world in which we live will never come from outside of us. That kind of might, the type that is promised by strong men and powerful deities, admits to no vulnerabilities, no weaknesses, no previous wrongs. That kind of might never has the courage to confess shortcomings, something required in order to bring about real and lasting changes. Only the strength that makes us brave enough to confront our real selves as individuals, as a collective, can usher in a better society. And by now, I probably don't have to tell you that there is only one place to find it, but I will anyway. It's right here. It is in me, and it is in you. Chag Sameach, everybody. Good Yom Tif, and thank you.
Rosh Hashanah is a time of reflection, and Yom Kippur, a time to take responsibility. I hope that these past days have been meaningful for you and given you strength. As humanistic Jews, we know that religion is a human creation. That is not always evident as we read the words of our ancestors. Yet there are times when we find a gem, and that gem allows us to immerse ourselves in our tradition, knowing that we are home. A Hasidic tale. When you talk about or reflect upon some bad deed that you have done, you are in danger of becoming a captive of that deed. Your thoughts become obsessed, and you become what you think. This will prevent you from turning, for your spirit will coarsen, your heart grow infirm, and melancholy may disable you. After all, if you stir mud this way or that, it's still mud. So what is the use of weighing and measuring our transgressions? In the time that I am brooding on this, I could be stringing pearls for the joy of the world. The psalmist wrote, "Depart from evil and do good. Turn wholly from evil. Do not brood about it and do good." You have done wrong? Then balance it by doing right.
We rise up each morning, and the earth rises too. World weary, we rise up, and we want something new. A world where compassion falls freely as rain. A world where all people can live without pain. Inclusive of all and rejecting of none. Where love touches all lives like the warmth of the sun. No abuse and no hatred, no prisons of fear. As the sound of the shofar celebrates the new year. If we open our hearts to the love waiting there, we can have the power to heal our despair. If we open our eyes and see all people are kin, destruction will end and a new world begin. If we open our hearts, if we open our eyes, if we open our eyes.
Sheila Malcolm, Madricha, Beth Ami, Colorado Congregation for Humanistic Judaism. We seek peace, the most precious gift we can bestow upon ourselves. May we find the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. May our country strive to be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. May we strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may the love of humanity permeate every home and every heart. May we labor for righteousness, and in so doing author a new book of life, blessing and peace, for we alone are the source of peace.
in this community where we find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward all those who need our love and support. Those who are ill, those who suffer pain of the body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. May all who suffer know that they are not alone. May they be healed quickly. May they experience a complete recovery, refuah shlema, the renewal of their bodies and the renewal of their spirits. Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every people and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own.
When a person begins life, countless gates stand waiting to be opened. The gates do not stay open forever. We walk through the years, and they shut behind us. At the end, they are all closed, except the one final gate which we must enter.
Before it is too late, let us open the gates that lead to blessing.
Let us enter the gates of tranquility. Let us enter the gates of kindness and compassion.
Let us open the gates to those things in life that abide eternally.
Before the gates swing shut, before all of them close, do not remain standing at the outer gate.
The gates are to be entered. The sun is low. The hour is late.
Let us enter the gate at last.
With one final blast of the shofar, we express our deepest hopes for a year of pardon and forgiveness, a year of respect and integrity, a year of love and blessing, a year of health and well-being, a year of harmony and contentment, a year of joy and wonder, a year of peace.
Tekiah Gadolah.